to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Dave, I think Sherry's having some trouble getting in.
Okay. You want me to take roll call?
Yeah, I'll do it. All right, roll call.
Hang on a second. Our, we have no audio for the participants.
No, I push that whole part. Sure. You see Jim, that's all. Okay.
Somebody say something.
Hello? Oh,
Hello.
Rick, say something.
Hello.
Rick, say something.
Hi, Bill.
Testing.
Hello.
Hey, we're good. Tom said it was perfect. I was just not good enough.
Can you pull the screen back down? Because right now it's pointing at the ceiling. Yep, perfect, good.
Two perfects in under 5 minutes. I quit now on my head.
All right, we can start with roll call. Ben,
Here.
Jackson,
Here.
Kiefer,
Yeah.
Floral,
Here.
Crumnow.
Here.
Let's see, who am I missing? And Floral.
Jake. I think we got right. Jake.
Okay, Jake,
Yeah.
okay. I don't have the list in front of me, so I'm looking at you guys. All right, would anyone like to say a word of prayer?
Yes. Dear God, please watch over all of our residents, village employees and families, business owners. Please watch over our council as we try to make the best decision tonight for our village. Please also take care of those that are sick and dealing with COVID-19. Look over those families. And I also want to just say, please a special watch over to all our fire department, EMS, and healthcare workers. In your name we pray, amen.
Amen. Okay, has everyone looked over the minutes? And do they have any questions or comments? Can I have a motion to approve the minutes? Or if I hear anything to stand approved, we'll do it that way. Okay, does anyone have any special recognitions to give tonight?
I'd like to just thank the maintenance guys, the village maintenance guys, for our last snow that we had last week. The guys did a great job of getting out there and plowing, keeping everybody safe. So Dave, thanks a lot to you and your guys.
I'd actually like to thank the Harris Elmore Fire Department, the police department, and anybody else that was involved in the Santa Parade. It was awesome. I got to spend a little time with my grandson watching it, so really appreciate everything you guys do for the community.
I'll second that. That was fantastic.
Anyone else? Sherry, you live?
Yep, I'm good here.
All right, we just went through recognition, so we can start with Solicitor Mulligan.
Thank you, Mayor. Can you hear me okay? Very good. I'll start with the with ordinances 12 and 13-20. Those two ordinances accept the petition for annexation to the Village, one for Ames Street and the other one for Portage River South. They had been resolutions, and you saw them initially in resolution form. They were changed up a little bit to make them ordinances. It has been explained to me that ordinances are a little bit easier to reference in the future because there's an indexing system for ordinances, and it's not such a good one for resolutions. So the statute with regard to accepting annexations allows for either acceptance by resolution or ordinance. So I switched them up to ordinances then. There is an emergency clause in there to preserve the health, safety of the areas to be annexed so that they would get immediate access to village services, including police protection. So that would be the basis for the emergency clause there. So it would be appropriate at this time if you want to consider those two ordinances, one after the other, for passage, and to suspend the rules and vote on the emergency clause.
May I ask a question before we get to that?
Certainly.
I don't see any ordinances 12 and 13 or 13 and 14. I see resolutions regarding annexation 15 and 16. I don't see an ordinance documented.
I
That
laid
was
the
actually emailed out later in the afternoon today.
Right, there was an email, and I also laid a hard copy down in front of you, Bill.
That includes resolutions. It does not include the ordinance. They are titled as resolutions. And by the way, I do appreciate the hard copy. That does help.
The latest agenda that I sent out is probably a little after 4, had them down as ordinances.
Okay, well, as I've mentioned before, getting stuff 2 hours before the meeting when we're doing a bunch of other stuff is not exactly beneficial to our ability to do the job. While I do appreciate the hard copy.
Bill, I can't understand a word you're saying. Sorry.
Okay, can you hear me now? Okay. Getting paperwork 2 hours before the meeting is, more of a standard than an exception anymore. I don't like that. I didn't have time in the last 2.5 hours to read additional documents. I do appreciate the hard copy, but the hard copy I've got is a resolution, not an ordinance.
Well, I take responsibility for that. I didn't get the ordinances out until early afternoon, I think it was. But the resolution is exactly the same as the ordinance, except that the resolution has a section 2 about the emergency clause. I'm sorry, the ordinance has a section 2 invoking the emergency clause, and otherwise it just accepts the annexed property. I understand there's a preference for an ordinance. If you want to go back to the hard copy that you have of the resolution, those are just as effective to accomplish the objective.
Well, and I understand the desire to have an ordinance for its ease of researching later. I don't dispute that. But this is an administrative issue that we've had once before at least. And I'm not going to vote for an ordinance that's not been put before me so I can read it.
Do we have a motion to suspend the rules?
Does this have to be done tonight, or can we correct it for next meeting, Mark?
This has to be done between now and 60 days from now.
Can we wait and do it right?
You may wait. It may. Is there another meeting in December?
December 28th.
Okay. I was concerned about getting it in before the end of the year so that the annexation could be effective for January 1st, which is a convenient date.
Yeah, our problem is though, is we always seem to be voting last minute on things. It seems to me, and I agree with Councilman Kiefer, that it seems that this meeting has become like a last minute thing, and things are sent to us last minute. And we need to stop that.
Tom, to be fair, I brought it up to Mark about having things brought in as ordinances. Just because, like he alluded to, we can look them up where resolutions are more in a file. And he did what I said, or what I asked him to do. And as he said, he got them there later. The resolutions stay the same, except now we have a way to put them in the codified ordinance book. We can do whatever we want to with them, where resolutions don't really go in there. So it's not a Sherry thing. It was just a timing thing. And I would imagine if we had to, we could vote on them as resolutions, but we lose the documentation part as far as that goes. Just to be fair to everyone.
I
Does
don't,
this do anything to the timeline with like the Husses and their sewer problem?
That'd be a question for Dave. It also affects when they, I think it affects when they are charged village rates as opposed to outside the village rates. I don't know if Dave has already adjusted those based upon their consent to the
I
annexation.
don't think anything goes into effect until it's passed.
Okay.
well, as I read through the details of this, having heard the discussion, Mark, if I understood you correctly, the new formatted ordinance has a section 2 to it. Is that correct?
Yes.
The documents before us does not have a section 2, and the fiscal office certificate as the publication refers to the foregoing ordinance, but we're looking at a resolution. So I think there's a number of administrative opportunities for improvement here, that if there isn't a time exigency, we should probably do this right at the next meeting as an ordinance.
I mean, here's another thought. Is there any way, Dave, you can share the screen so that we can read the ordinance so that we can get it done tonight so everybody can see?
Yeah, 1 minute, please.
I just don't want to be on the end of holding up like the Husses where they're waiting on us and we're dragging our feet.
That's fair.
Before you, you have the ordinance. And that's what I put on your desks. I didn't realize this is what the ordinance was, and I believe I've got it in front of you, everyone. It's at the community center.
Okay, hang on. All right, my error. It was underneath the other papers. I assumed it was in the packet. So
No,
I
because
don't-
it was a late edition.
fair enough. I do not see an ordinance number on it, but I'm assuming we can handwrite that in.
The Ames Street one is ordinance number 12. The Portage River one is ordinance number 13.
Okay, fair enough. My concerns are, well, does everybody else have this?
I'm fine with it.
All right.
I'll make the motion to suspend the rules for ordinance, was it 12-20?
Yes.
Second.
Laurel,
Yes.
Kiefer,
Yes.
Jackie,
Yes.
Crumnow,
Yes.
Drill,
Yes.
Jackson,
Yes. I'll make a motion to declare an emergency for ordinance number 12-20.
I'll
Second.
second.
Oh, go ahead, Jake.
Jackie,
Yes.
Crumnow,
Yes.
Drill,
Yes.
Jackson,
Yes.
Laurel,
Yes.
Kiefer,
Yes.
Now I'll make a motion to approve ordinance number 11, or I'm sorry, 12-20.
Second.
Drill,
Yes.
Jackson,
Yes.
Laurel,
Yes.
Kiefer,
Yes.
Jackie,
Yes.
Crumnow,
Yes.
All right. I will make a motion to suspend the rules for ordinance number 13-20.
Second.
Laurel,
Yes.
Kiefer,
Yes.
Jackie,
Yes.
Crumnow,
Yes.
Drill,
Yes.
Jackson,
Yes. I will now make a motion to suspend the, declare an emergency for ordinance number 13-20.
I'll second.
Jackie,
Yes.
Crumnow,
Yes.
Drill,
Yes.
Jackson,
Yes.
Laurel,
Yes.
Kiefer,
Yes.
All right, now I'll make a motion to approve ordinance number 13-20.
I'll second it.
who was that?
Jim?
Drill,
Yes.
Jackson,
Yes.
Laurel,
Yes.
Kiefer,
Yes.
Jackie,
Yes.
Crumnow,
Yes.
All right, Mike, you're back up.
Okay. I do have a question for Sherry on this 15-20. Sherry, is that a resolution on the amending the insurance coverage for faithful performance?
we have to have this ordinance. Last year, they decided that we were going to use this faithful performance.
Right.
And we have, and this year, they told us in order to do that, we have to have this ordinance or resolution in order to do it.
Okay.
So it's part of our renewal.
Okay. I was wondering if we shouldn't make that an ordinance instead of a resolution, because we're actually, it looks like we're amending. Are we amending a resolution or an ordinance? Do you remember?
We're amending a resolution.
Then the resolution is fine. What this does is elected officials and village officials have to have bonds to protect the village against dishonesty. There was a law passed that allows you to have that insurance coverage and do away with the bonds. It's a cost savings for the village. So by passing this resolution every year, you're saying to the state government, we don't want to have bonds. We want to have our coverage for employee dishonesty through the insurance companies, which is actually better coverage anyway and cheaper.
So before I stick my foot in my mouth, Is there a hard copy of that presented to us in this packet? Because resolution 15-20 that I see and 16-20 are the prior annexation resolutions. So maybe I'm missing something before I restate my entire set of concerns.
Okay,
No, I do not see R 17-20 either.
yours probably has the prior number on it, but since we changed the other two to ordinances, of course, that's gonna throw our numbers off. So we had to go back and use the numbers in order. So let me see what number it was.
Is that
It
new?
was 17, but then again, there are no references for the amending the resolution 08-19. I find nothing in my packet.
Dave, do you remember what number that was?
Okay, so on the agenda, it appears to say R 17-20 that would amend 8-19 to secure coverage and cover the topic. But I don't see any R 17, nor do I see a 15 or 16.
Mark, did you have that one?
The resolution relating to dishonesty?
Yes.
No, I do not.
We can hold that off until tomorrow's committee meetings. That doesn't need to be passed until the 28th.
Okay.
We can go over it tomorrow night.
Very good. Mr. Mayor, I just want to get on the record. I am very concerned about the administrative confusion we have on nearly every topic we've talked about so far this evening. As I said earlier, I think we have opportunity to do this better, and I would appreciate you taking a look at that.
I'll take that all under consideration, Bill.
Thank you.
That actually goes in place of ordinance 10-20. I don't see that in my packet either. Is that in my packet? Refers to job classifications, pay ranges, and compensation.
That was not provided in the mailheads that I saw, and I don't see it in the hard copy packet.
When you had Mark.
I have, Dave, the copy that I saw was the one you emailed me, and that I went through, we discussed it and I approved it, but I haven't seen it since then.
It was, it'll be for tomorrow night's committee meetings.
All right. And then in terms of 11-20, do you think we should discuss this before first reading in tomorrow night's fiscal finance committee? Or
Yeah, we have, go ahead, Sharon.
I think if you could have just like the first reading and then any questions or anything, we could pass it at the next meeting. And if the only things that there was only very minor changes made to this ordinance from last year. Most
Okay.
of these numbers are the same.
so you're going to go over tomorrow the changes that Dave and you are proposing.
Yes, if you'd like, I can do it tomorrow.
I think that's fair. I know Zach has a real concern about the money for parks. That's a real concern. I don't know whether it needs to go in temporary or permanence, but I think we should have that discussion. It's a good one for tomorrow. I would like to know also for each of the major categories tomorrow, what is the difference year over year? So our total appropriation, what was it last year? What is it this year? And then for each of the major buckets, what was it last year? What is it this year? Just so we can see year over year differences. But I think it would be fine to cover the details tomorrow. If that's okay with everybody else.
Sherry, I have a question. Are ordinances 10 and 11-20, are those emergency or are those three reading ordinances?
11 is not an emergency. This is temporary appropriations. The timeline that we agreed to and approved is we would have a first reading today, discussion tomorrow, and then we would review on a second reading and approve if there were no issues at our second meeting in December.
Ordinance 10-20 is for the job classification pay ranges for 21. So it needs to be passed at next meeting on the 28th so that we can move forward with the pay raises.
Okay, so that would, okay.
Uh,
So there's
So
no
tomorrow night
sense,
would be a good night to go over, and then we can pass it on the 2nd.
very
reading
good. Then
also.
I'll have the first reading then of 11-20. Ordinance 11-20, establishing temporary appropriations for January 1st, 2021 through December 31st, 2021 for current expenses and other expenditures of the Village of Elmore, Ottawa County, State of Ohio during the fiscal year ending December 31st, 2021. So we've had the first reading by title of Ordinance 11-20, and you'll have other meetings to consider it.
I got a question, Mark. If it's supposed to be temporary, but do we always do it that way, listed as January through December?
Always been that way for all the years I've been here
Okay.
Temporary
and
appropriation,
before.
the way I understand it, temporary appropriations are to get us through the Q1 of the next year. So we have an operating budget to start next year. Then we consider the permanent appropriations for the remainder of the year once we come back in January.
It's just weird that we list it for the whole year.
Yeah, it's always been.
Well, that's the way
Never
it's
noticed.
written. It's always, like I said, it's always been that way from long before I was even here. And that, I mean, I get audited. They've never had any issues with it.
Ben, my thinking on it is that we have to make appropriations for the entire year, but by calling it temporary, we're acknowledging that it is a work in progress that will change as financial data comes in over the course of the year.
Consistent with how I understand it also.
Okay. Well, with that, I'm going to get out of the meeting and pass it off to somebody else. Thank you.
One last question. When will we see a draft of 10-20?
It's in your email right now, Bill.
Thank you.
Any other questions for me? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mark. Zach, thank you for thinking about using technology to bring the ordinances up there. We need that behind us a little bit sometimes. All right, from my standpoint, I have quite a few things. First of all, I want to agree with, let's see, who was it? Tom, that brought up the first responders and the efforts Saturday night. It was awesome. There's not too much for the kids to do right now. And for the fire department, the police department, even as far as Laura decorating the police car, it brought the community together, and I thought it was an absolute awesome night. And it was all volunteers, and it was a great job. So hats off to everybody that helped there. We still have the house decorating contest, and the library still has some activities going, so we're not going to let the COVID get us completely down. We're still trying to do everything for the citizens of the village of Elmore. Every year we usually do something for our employees, and usually we get hams or turkeys. So this year I'm going to request a positive vote just for gift certificates from Tags Meats for $50 in lieu of the hams and turkeys. I believe we have 16 employees, and actually the bill comes out to about $48 less than it was last year. So I'm going to make that proposal. We just get gift certificates. If I hear no objections, we'll take care of that.
I think it's a great idea.
Thank you. Today I called Roger Haar and I appointed him to the tree committee to replace Tom Diedemeyer, who resigned for work obligations. So Roger's on board, so welcome to the tree committee, Roger. I received 2 letters today. One from Ken Amrine, the band leader at Woodmore, thanking the village, the mayor and council members for putting money forward for the mass for the band. And he wrote this personally for himself. Because of your generosity and commitment to our students, we can now hope to perform indoors with added layer of safety. These masks will be used regularly throughout our classes during school hours. In addition, I now feel more comfortable in planning performances with our various ensembles. For instance, we started to have the pep band play at basketball games and have tentatively scheduled a jazz band performance on December 21st. I hope to schedule more. So that was sincerely from Ken Emrine. I also, and you guys too, because it was addressed to Mayor Rick Clare and the Elmore Village Council. The Woodmore Band sent us a letter basically saying the same thing. They did write in here, with your donation, you give us hope. You give us hope that we may be able to perform in front of the audience of our community members that care so much for us. Your donation is an example of how much our Woodmore community cares about us, and for that, we will always be thankful. So I just want to let you know, between the fire department, the first responders, all the volunteers, and Woodmore schools, we're still a whole community. And we got to get rid of some of the stuff that goes with it otherwise. Okay, then I have one other matter. After reviewing a letter of recommendation from Village Administrator Hauer and myself taking part in the interview process, I would like to appoint Jason Heinchel to the Serviceman 2 position. Jason brings with him several strengths along with several years of experience that are applicable to Serviceman 2 position. I therefore would like to appoint Jason Heinchel for the Serviceman 2 position at a rate of $24.25 per hour. As my recommendation is up to council to vote on it. Do I have a motion?
I would like to say that I did participate in the interview process. It's probably one of the longer ones I had to participate in. A very personable person, and he definitely would be a big asset for the village as he grows and learns, and I really think the community would take to him. So I will make that motion.
Do I have a second?
Second. Second. I'm sorry, Rick. I don't know if you heard me.
Okay, thank you. Laurel,
Yes.
Kiefer,
Yes.
Wagaki,
Yes.
Crumnow,
Yes.
Drill,
Yes.
Jackson.
Yes.
Thank you very much. And I know Dave will be getting a hold of Jason. That's all I have for the mayor's seat. We have a motion for the authorization to pay bills.
Before I make that motion, Sherry, I just have a question regarding one of the ALADTEC Inc. What is that?
Lad Tech. What did we do with a Lad Tech, Dave?
I have to look at the bill itself, but LadTech, if I remember correctly, was the one that Jeff uses for his pre-screenings and stuff.
Okay.
Jeff? Can't hear you, Jeff.
I believe that's an employee scheduling program that Laura and
That's it. Thank you. That's exactly what it is on file. you're right. That is our scheduling that we just acquired between Jeff and I.
Is that what we talked about a couple days ago online?
Yeah. Yep.
Oh, perfect. Okay.
That's for the work orders and for all the other.
Perfect. And is
Fine.
that a annual cost? Is that a,
It was for $3,100 or $3,000?
it's 3,000?
30.
Yes.
Or
Yeah,
something.
that's an
That was-
annual.
That's an annual?
Yes.
Is there a number of people, like if you were to hire more people, do we have to add more licenses or?
No. It's just there are actually 3 people that have, or 4 people that have access, but it has unlimited licenses.
Okay.
Eventually what's going to happen is that everybody's going to have an app on their phone so that they can look at and add and put down their times and also look at work orders and those kinds of things. That's where we're headed with it.
Okay. So are you trying to move away from like physical timesheets then? Is that the goal?
Exactly.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Yep.
I move to authorize payment of the bills.
Second.
Wodecki,
Yes.
Crumnow,
Yes.
Drill,
Yes.
Jackson,
Yes.
Floral,
Yes.
Keeper,
Yes.
Ouch.
Okay, Fiscal Officer Hayes.
well, everybody got my monthly reports and tax report and Rita report. You look them over. Send me an email if you have any questions and I'll try to answer them tomorrow at committees.
So for tomorrow, Sherry, can you do me a favor and give us a breakdown of the accounts, what accounts concern you based on spending, so we can look at that as we look at the temporary appropriations, just to get a better feel of where we're at? Because I know we've done a lot of moving of funds, and I know part of that was some of it planned, but see if we can eliminate some of that, just to.
Well, a lot of that was not planned came out of general fund for attorney fees. So a lot of that was, almost all of that was, hit the
So-
general. So,
So anything we planned on the potential for contingency didn't even need it. It was other stuff. Okay,
there's a lot of, we'll talk about it tomorrow.
thank you.
I'll have them, yeah.
I did notice that after everything that's happened this year, if you compare the income tax to last year, we're only off by $8,000, $7,000. So I think that's pretty good.
And that's consistent with the finance reports. That's consistent with the finance reports. We showed pretty consistent,
Right, Bill's been on top of that.
so it's good data.
Cool.
As soon
Thank
as
you,
I
Sherry.
pay my income tax, we'll take care of that.
Okay, so look those over, and like I said, just if you got any questions, send me an email so I can try to get the answers for you at committees. And then I had some transfers, of course, the payroll, police contractual, to pay some bills, and then we did some purchase of trees. And so we had to add extra in, just move that around. So that's what those transfers are. And so if I can
So we have
get,
3,000 from water, 6,000 to police, 1,750 for trees, and 3,300 for water.
right, that's just moving it around. There was nothing pulled out of contingency or anything. It was just moving it around.
Left pocket, right pocket.
I can't hear you.
It's left pocket, right pocket.
Yeah. All right, I'll make a motion to reapprove the line items transfers as presented.
I'll second.
Drill,
Yes.
Jackson,
Yes.
Laurel,
Yes.
Kiefer,
Yes.
Jackie,
Yes.
Drumno,
Yes.
and that was all I had.
Any questions for Sherry? Okay, Chief Harrison.
Oh. So first thing I have is I had a part-time officer, Officer Caleb Stuff, resigned to take a full-time position in North Baltimore. So I would ask that you accept his resignation.
Who was that, Jeff?
Caleb Stuff.
I'll make the motion that we accept the resignation.
I'll second that motion.
Laurel,
Yes.
Kiefer,
Yes.
Jackie,
Yes.
Drumno,
Yes.
Drill,
Yes.
Jackson,
Yes.
And on the heels of that, I'd like to start the process to replace him and start that interview process in the near future. Another point I have is, if you haven't seen yet, the old police car is for sale on Gov Deals, and it was bid up to right around the $800 mark right now, but the auction is till December 21st, and then we'll get that off of our books. Otherwise, you have my monthly report, and if you have any questions or comments, concerns about it, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Well, I'd suggest we go ahead and authorize the search to replace Caleb.
Thank you.
Do we need a motion to do that, or?
I don't believe so. That's just my normal staffing.
We've not done that in the past.
Any other questions for Jeff? All right, Village Administrator Dave Howard.
I want to thank everyone for the authorization to move forward with Jason. I appreciate that tremendously. I have been in contact with the investigative lawyer and his team, and to date, he has started the interviews with individuals and has started his evaluation of the zoning ordinance, building codes, and the jurisdictions on how they apply towards our concerns. He's moving forward with all that right now, and the team will have the investigation wrapped up by the end of the week with a report completed by a preliminary report completed by next weekend. That's the latest on the investigation right now. Otherwise, you have my report, and any questions for me? Okay, thank you.
All right, as we enter into old and new business, I believe Jeff Burkle's here from the Harris Elmore Fire Department to make a presentation, so he has the floor.
Jeff, I'm sorry you brought the wrong person then.
Got to unmute.
He's on mute. He needs to be taken
You're
off
on mute.
There you go. All right, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes.
All right, first I'd like to thank everybody for letting me present tonight. I'd also like to thank everyone that was involved in Saturday's parade. It was a huge success, great turnout. Thanks for involving the fire department. We plan on doing that every year from now on. We put up all the decorations. We're gonna put a truck together every year for that. It also benefited our department because of COVID. We couldn't have a Christmas party for our children, so we used that truck and went to each individual's house and gave them gifts from Santa that we normally would have a party at our station. With that being said, what I'm here to do tonight is to present you a piece of equipment that the fire department is looking to purchase. About a year and a half ago, we applied for a FEMA grant. We received that grant, we were awarded that grant, and that grant will be purchasing a new rescue pumper. That pumper is to be done on December 30th this month. We'll go to another factory to be some special modifications that are being done to it. It will be in the village probably in the middle of January. You will have a new 2021 rescue pumper custom that a FEMA grant helped us purchase. During that purchase, and part of FEMA grants rules is you have to come up with 5% what FEMA gave. Township got that money together through taxpayers and through fundraising, and we were able to cover that along with a lot of the equipment that goes on this truck. With hundreds of pieces of equipment, we missed one. This piece of equipment is called a thermal imaging camera. In the fire department, we call it a TIC. I have it here. I'm going to turn it on. I'm going to pass it around so that everyone can see it. Anybody that's on Zoom that would like to look at this, feel free to call me. I'll bring it by your office. We'll meet at the station, whatever. What this camera is capable of doing is actually detecting thermal imaging in a house, outside. It's able to detect different temperatures of human bodies. If we had to go out on a search and rescue, we use this to do that. We use this when we go into a house and you have smoke, the smell of smoke that's in there, we can actually see through the walls and determine. Anybody that's been in the service knows what a thermal imaging camera does, or in law enforcement. We have one of these that was purchased with our old truck 20 years ago, but we all know with technology and great advancements that there's bigger and better out there. We've done our homework. We've looked at 4 different cameras, 4 different manufacturers. This is the camera that we came up with. It's a newer version of the camera that we already have. So with best practice in mind, why try and change? We're going to try and use the same camera that we have. Like I said, this is bigger and better. It has 5 different screens on it instead of just a normal black and white screen like our old camera. It has the option for zoom, so I can zoom up to 3 or 4 different times. And the new option that they come up with is it actually has a infrared laser that can scan across the room, tell me distance, and tell me whatever that thing touches temperature. Actually take the temperature of a patient from across the room with putting the laser on their forehead. I'll take a look at those. Yeah. With that being said, they were around $19,000 20 years ago. Thank God the cost has actually gone down on them. And to purchase that camera would be around $7,000. Dilly Willy was the fire department is looking for some help because we've expended all of our money with this new truck and this new equipment, and we have not had any fundraisers this year due to our friend the COVID pandemic. That being said, no reverse raffle and no feather parties. We've lost about $25,000 in fundraising that would normally go to purchase equipment. I know in years past, City Council has done donations or helped out the fire department and things. I believe 20 years ago, when old Mr. Mayor Crumnow was on, he came to us and said, you guys just bought a brand new truck and nobody came to city council. We would have liked to help with that truck. We didn't have to do that this time because of the grant. Thank you, Uncle Sam. But in the long and the short of it, we missed a couple things. So we've been trying to purchase them and would ask the city council to help us purchase that or to purchase that for us. Around about $7,000. The price is going to change after the first of the year because everything goes up, but I can probably wheel and deal a salesman. What that comes with is the unit, spare battery, charging system, and a tether cord. I'm asking for anything would help.
If it were up to me, I'd like to make the motion for the full 7. That's just me.
It is up to you. You can
I'll
make the
second
motion.
that.
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
Is the CARES Act, is that irrelevant for something like this?
Time has passed, I think, hasn't it?
Yes, time passed.
Okay, never mind.
Cool. So we have a motion and a second.
So Zach made the motion and who seconded?
Me.
Hey, Wargacki,
Yes.
come now.
Yes.
Drill,
Yes.
Jackson,
Yes.
Floral,
Yes.
Kiefer.
Yes.
There you have it.
Wow, wasn't expecting that tonight. That's awesome. Thank you very much.
That's that was an easy decision because you guys have done so much for this community, and any chance we have an opportunity to help, I mean, we're all in this together.
Absolutely. And like Rick had said, and I'm sure we've all heard around here, we need to break that border that's dividing station and this town. So appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you again.
I have a comment for Sherry and Dave, perhaps. You might be able to take some of that 7,000 out of water and sewer or your electrical fund to address emergencies relating to those utilities. Just a suggestion.
Thank you, Mark.
I'd like to comment. This is Carol.
You can
Hi,
start
Carol.
right out with audience participation, Carol.
Okay, thank you for your support of the fire department and EMS and all the nice compliments that you're giving to them for the work that they did. Just to comment about the CARES, you cannot use the CARES money to replace something that already exists. And therefore, that would not have been something that we could have used that money for. And this was coming through the fire department because they are an association and raise their money separately and purchase some items for the department that does not come from township directly money. And that would have been what you just did here, was supporting the association in one of their equipment purchases that they do throughout the year.
No, we certainly appreciate them, Carol.
Thank you.
Did you have anything else?
No.
Okay, thank you. All right, I guess I'll go around the virtual board first. Jax? Ralph? Keith? Lawyer? Roger?
I'm good.
All right, Laura? Okay, I guess we'll start out. We'll open up the audience participation to people on the floor.
Mike?
All right. Mike Pendle's in here. Can you guys hear me? Okay. I'm going to bring up something and it had to do with the last meeting and a discussion you guys had about local zoning and what's coming up with the Planning Commission meeting on the 21st. In that discussion that you guys had, Zach Floral brought up about ADA on if somebody was on the first floor and wanted to put an apartment on the first floor. And then Mark commented about his experience in downtown business areas where you don't really want that because it spirals down, to pretty much sum it up. And if I'm not correct, Mark maybe can pipe in and correct me on that. But with that said, then we open up the minutes on what's going to be discussed at the Planning Commission, and it all changed. And I don't know if you guys are aware of that, but it says here, the purpose of the hearing is to consider proposed amendments to zoning code. Number one, to allow limited production of beer, wine, liquor in the central business district and in the general business district. Number two, to allow short-term lodging to be offered to the public in the central business district. And number three, to allow dwellings on the first floor of certain areas in the central business district. That has completely changed what you guys discussed 3 weeks ago. And I wonder why that is. Because it was clearly brought out that apartments would stay on the second floor of the central business district. And now it's up for discussion in the central business district to put them on the first floor in certain areas. And I guess my comment on that is, why did it change and when did it change? What meeting did it change? Maybe I missed the council meeting. How did that change?
Mike, I think I can answer that. This is Mark Mulligan.
Yeah.
The minutes of the meeting have to reflect in general what is discussed, but they're not supposed to be a detailed verbatim discussion of what happens in the meeting. There is a recording of the meeting. I think Village Administrator Hauer posts that to the website when we're done. So you could certainly refer to that if you want to see exactly what was done. But as far as the printed minutes, there is no requirement that they reflect in the kind of detail that you're asking what happened at a meeting.
Well, that moving of the second floor to the first floor is not just a minor thing. That's a pretty big decision to do that. And, you know, part of our concern is the downtown businesses, and what you're planning on discussing, I mean, it hasn't been approved, obviously, is the fact that we have a parking issue. And changing the zoning, allowing apartments and Airbnbs in part of the central business district, preferably, I've talked to a few council members back on Back Street there by the library, Clinton Street. It's potentially possible in the old lumber yard to put 10 apartments in there. Where are all these people going to park? And to create a new ordinance, and the ultimate question I have is, this meeting is going to take place, but I would think there's one more extremely important thing that you guys have not addressed, and that's enforcement of their zoning ordinances that you already have on your books. Because there's a number of situations there that those enforcements have never happened, and it's gone by for years. And you're spending taxpayers' dollars to investigate in one particular situation. And Mark, you did talk about the apartment that's in the front of the old lumber yard. That should have been addressed years ago, and it never should even be there, because they didn't go through the process that the village's ordinances or the county ordinances require to change a commercial building into a residence, or slash both, if you understand what I'm saying. So my concern as a business owner, building owner, and my investment is parking, number one. And I don't know why the discussion or the zoning ordinance is even going to be discussed on the 21st, because you guys, and I say this loosely, but there's absolutely zero enforcement of the ordinance that you guys create meeting after meeting. And I would think that would be the number one thing on the bucket list to correct this stuff. And I don't want to say I'm concerned, but I'm very concerned about that. Because I don't personally want apartments on the first floor in the business district. And there is not a division, from what I gather, I've not seen a map, and I've asked, of where it says general district, central business district, and general and central. I've not seen anything that splits that up. So the question I would have is, who's going to do that? Or is it already in place where the public hasn't seen this? Because I've asked a couple of the business owners downtown, and they've never seen that. It was always explained that it was one central business district from Clinton Street, including the library. I mean, there's only one home on Clinton Street, talking about from Maple Street to Toledo Street, and it faces Maple Street. So I don't understand why the zoning would be changed other than to cover up or make the ordinance violations okay now. So I don't understand that. And parking is a huge issue, and it would get worse. And you can say the parking that the block that the village uses, or everybody there, is maybe ample parking or helps that out, but that's private. That could easily go away at the drop of a dime, like it did when Tasha's owned the building, when they put the cyclone fence up and the guardrail. So I'm concerned about that, but I'm really concerned about, you can create these ordinances all day long. What are you doing about enforcing them? And there's plenty of examples on where these ordinances, building ordinances, on what you can do, are not being enforced. So I guess I voiced my concern on that. I don't know what that was. Could be. And one other thing, I guess I'd want to address this with Dave Hauer. I want to make sure that he understands this. Behind my building, you have a snapped off telephone pole that your power hook's at, and it's leaning towards my building.
We'll take a look at it, Mike.
That needs to be, we stuck a knife in the telephone pole, and the rot at ground surface went all the way pretty much as deep as what the knife could go.
All right, we'll take a look at it. Thanks.
All right, thank you very much.
Beth, do you have anything? Okay, Tom?
No.
Mr. Claire, we're good here.
Real quick, guys, before we motion to go, I just want to bring up, I don't know, I sent everybody, we had got from our county emails, there has been a fraud going around, and it's been targeted for county employees and local village employees and elected officials as well. So just be aware of that. Like I said, I sent it to your emails along with, hopefully I included everybody who is an employee of ours. And then the last thing I just wanted to bring up was I did also send you guys out a email regarding our park situation. I took a look at 3 different parks that are similar size, or 3 different villages that are similar size with us, which was Gibsonburg, Pemberville, and Marblehead. There were a couple that I looked at, like Genoa doesn't use checkbook. Woodville doesn't use checkbook, so I couldn't really get a feel as to what they're doing with their park situation when it comes to park improvements. But it was interesting, and we can talk about tomorrow, seeing some of the numbers that are out there. I think Gibsonburg was at a high of $65,000 in their park improvement.
56.
What's that?
56.
I'm sorry. Yes, 50. Thanks, Bill.
Do you know if any of these had levies at all? Do you know, did you have any of that?
Rick was actually to check, Sherry, with Gibsonburg's. I reached out to Oak Harbor to see what theirs is. Their fund is actually kind of like ours is. I think with it just all going into capital improvement. Tomorrow night, I'll probably make a suggestion. I mean, it's up to the finance committee, but I personally would like to see a complete separate fund for park improvement.
We have a park fund and we have a park capital. And you have to remember, this is the general fund.
Right.
You know, that's all.
Well, I think the point
So-
there is that whatever goes into the park and park capital will come out of something else, right?
Right. I just want to make sure, I know we've got a park fund, but we also take money out of that park fund to pay a person. I'm just looking at a fund where you know that this is the amount of money you can spend on a park improvement.
Okay, and
That's park
That would be
capital.
park capital. That's park
Right.
capital.
there
And I think
is a
that's-
park capital. There is a
Right.
fund of its own under park,
But it all rolls under general fund, and that's part of the decision-making we have to do when we do temporary and permanent appropriation. Where do we want to put it? I think it's a good
Right.
discussion to have, yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So, and we can get into it more tomorrow. So that's all I wanted to bring up though.
Hey, Zach, when we do get there, the one thing I'd like to, sorry. I don't know why I was doing that. The one thing I'd like to do is some idea of what you all think you might want in there.
Yeah. Yeah. I'll definitely start thinking about that. To be honest with you, I had kind of had a conversation with a couple different people. And I'm not saying like, you know, you got to go full blown $20,000 right off the bat or anything like that crazy. But if we could do slow increments and just kind of work our way up to a goal. So,
But you're not, Zach, are you looking for permanent appropriations? Because I mean, we're not going to do a winter project, right? Like,
no,
we
I
don't-
mean, we aren't going to do a winter project, but I mean.
So I mean, we don't have to worry about temporaries. Since
Correct,
that's only
correct.
January through March.
Right, yeah,
Okay.
yep,
Okay.
yeah.
Zach, would you envision purchasing anything in March for an install in April or May?
I mean, I'd hope so at Well Park. Dave,
Is it
have you
something that
guys?
can go into April?
Right,
Yeah,
that's,
yeah.
that's something that
Okay.
we can talk about for
Okay.
permanent.
Yeah,
Right now,
because
what we need to do right
temporaries
now is to
can't do it.
focus on getting that stuff in April so that we can put it into the permanent appropriations as we move forward through February and March. And when we finally approve it, it's already ready to spend.
Yeah,
Get the bids now, basically.
Yeah, I think that's part of it.
Yeah.
Let's figure out
Yeah.
what we need. Let's build it in, because we're gonna
Right.
start talking permanence next month.
Exactly, exactly. But what we have right now is the temporary, which Parks doesn't have anything in the wintertime for temporary. So yeah, I appreciate you looking forward, Zach. That's exactly what we need to do, and we can talk more about it tomorrow night.
Perfect.
I think we're gonna have a lot of good discussions tomorrow night in committees.
Oh, yes.
All right, does anyone have anything else?
I'd like to make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second that motion.
really don't need to do this, but we can go ahead. Drill,
Yes.
Jackson,
Yes.
Floral,
Yes.
Kiefer,
Yeah.
Jackie. Oh, sorry.
Yep.
Wardacki,
Yes.
Krumnow.
Yes.
Have a great night, everyone.